Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're coming from. This is Dr. Hockman. I'm the medical matchmaker. I match physician owned private practices with awesome doctors who closely align with their values. And I typically help through the whole process. I'm so excited here to have Dr. Modi because Dr. Modi is a physician who left an employed system and started his own private practice. So, Dr. Modi, tell us a little bit about your practice, where you are now, and I'd love to know why you decided to start it.
Yeah, thank you, Lara. Thanks for having me here. Hi, everyone. Um, so so yeah, just a brief history. I was trained in as a neurologist in Michigan, and uh, and then I did a stroke fellowship, and then I moved to North Carolina back in 2019, right before COVID. And the COVID hits, and as you know, all the hospitals changed their policies and the way they work. Some ends up getting better, some ends up getting worse, and it kept getting worse in my situation, and I left them in 2022, and since then I have been in private practice.
Great. So, there are so many doctors out there, and I'm sure there are some watching. Which, by the way, if you're watching, please type hashtag live or hashtag replay, or just say hello in the comments. I'd love to say hi. There's going to be some, at least one, if not many, doctors who are so unhappy in their practice, but they're not leaving for many reasons. Tell us a little bit about how you made that decision to leave your employed position.
Yeah, so the way the amount of work was building up, and the burnout, as we all go through, most of us go through, led me to believe that I have to leave the system. And when I left them, I had 2 years of non-compete, and being a stroke neurologist, there were only two options in the city, and I couldn't do it, so I had to move, or I would start my own private practice. So I decided to start. Um, just took a leap of faith and just started telemedicine and clinic and so on.
It's so interesting because you're like, well, I just couldn't, so I did it. There's there's a lot to be said for that. Did it feel? I know when I left, I said no to a hospital contract that I didn't like because of the non-compete. But it was very empowering. Did you find, like, how did you feel leaving?
Oh, if the feeling was awesome, the freedom, uh, you your own boss, and you got a lot of autonomy. You can just set things the way you want,
Hmm.
and and you kind of already know back of your head like how you want things to be in the hospital when you're working there. You have your opinion in so many things, but you just can't execute because of all the challenges. But now you can just do all of that.
So very different.
Yeah,
Very different.
absolutely. Yeah.
Was there anything that surprised you? I feel like, we can all say, oh, it should be this or they should do that or whatever. But when it comes down to it and you're actually doing it, was there anything that surprised you that, this is easier than you thought or harder than you thought? Or, I thought they should do this, but really turns out that's not really possible. Or were there any surprises?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of surprises. I never thought I would do my private practice and do business, but then when you start business, you got to start with marketing. I think it was way more challenging than I thought, getting the right formula, and the marketing approach is different for everyone, and you got to make your own, and you stumble here and there, and eventually you figure it out. So that was the most surprising part, that how difficult the marketing was. You think you will start a practice and patients will start coming in, and it doesn't work that way. You spend months and months uh, in the process initially before getting any patients at all.
Yeah, I think that's something that we don't realize as employed physicians, that you show up and the giant hospitals have these huge teams to get patients to you and, built-in
Yeah,
systems of referrals. And when you're in private practice, you don't have that. So you're seeing patients in Charlotte and Raleigh, and it's called Celeste Brain Health, right?
right. Yes, we have physical location in Charlotte and Raleigh at this point, and although half of our patients are probably telemedicine because they don't want to travel or they live far, so we do North Carolina and a couple of other states, mainly Texas and California also.
Great. So speaking of marketing, anyone watching, if you know of a patient or you want to go see Dr. Modi, do it. It's called Celeste Brain Health. And we should go ahead and put the after this, we'll go ahead and put the website in the comments. Do you feel um, like you're able as a practice owner to prioritize your well-being without feeling guilty?
Yes, I think so. You now you can. I think that autonomy, feeling of that autonomy, is it triumphs everything else. Um, you will spend spend a lot of time doing things that you never thought you would, like administration and managing and driving here and there and meeting new people. So it's a very different life, and at the same time, you get to do it on your own, and you on your own decision, on your own will. I think that advantage, it triumphs everything.
Hmm.
You know. Um,
Yeah. A question I get asked a lot is, being in private practice, you're on call all the time, especially for someone like you who you're solo, right? You're it. Tell me a little bit about that experience. Is it really as bad as it sounds?
it's not as bad if you have a if you change your mindset a little bit. So it's like your uh, your personal life and work life kind of gets blend together. So you on the weekend and on vacation, you are replying emails and sending in in basket messages to the patient and all that. But at the same time, during your weekdays, you have so much autonomy that you can make room for anything, for yourself, your family, and uh, and so it's kind of it has pros and cons.
Yeah. I mean, you can decide to just clear your schedule and go see your
Yes,
kids, go to their Valentine's Day party or whatever it is.
exactly. Not uh, not. I don't have to send a notice for ask for like a time off or vacation or something to any administration.
You don't need to
And
wait, ask for it 1 year in advance or 6 months in
yeah,
advance.
absolutely.
That's great. If if you could go back and change anything about starting your practice, what would it be?
So for personally, I think I started with telemedicine first, um, and uh, and then moved to in-person office location after a few months. If I had to do it all over again, I would start the other way around. I think having a physical location to start with makes a huge difference. I think that's when the practice really took off because it gives you a stamp of being a legit doctor out there.
That's so neat. So if there's a doc watching who's thinking about starting their practice, but they're too scared or they feel like it's going to be hard financially or whatever reason, what would you say to them?
I would say financially it would be hard for first year or so, but in that year you will figure out what's your marketing formula, and then it'll take off. There's a lot of demand out there for any kind of specialty. Um,
Mhm. Is there anything in your practice that you've done unique or different, or you just came up with an idea and you went for it?
I just came up with an idea and went for it, and few unique things I added in the practice was I started seeing a lot of medical legal cases. Uh, So, independent exams and treating workers' compensation and all those other things that I didn't treat before. So that's also been a learning curve, going to depositions and trials and all that.
Mhm. Very neat. Okay, so if you could go back to when you were graduating your fellowship, what would you tell yourself?
Oh wow! So I wouldn't have done fellowship in the first place if I had known. Because when you're in private practice, you have a limited setup and you don't have a multidisciplinary team. So so you're better off doing something that is less uh, resource intensive, uh, and so you probably don't need fellowship unless you're in some other kind of specialty that you can do fellowship and still do private practice. But I would say do it early on because when you're young you can you're right out of residency or fellowship and you still have that lot of energy and you can get things done better. So starting early on, if I had to do it all over again, I would just start the private practice right out of residency.
Something I see that I find curious is straight out of residency or fellowship, a lot of docs are wanting mentors. They're wanting to come out and have the physician to bounce ideas off of, um, which is great. But at the same time, you've been doing your training with the mentors. What are your thoughts on starting a private practice straight out of fellowship if you're feeling like you need a mentor?
You will find mentors. It, you know wh- Once you're in residency and fellowship, you should maybe start making contacts of people who are already in private practice. So you can find a couple of people like that and make them your mentors. And that's how I found people, like a couple of colleagues who were already doing private practice in a different part of country, and uh, and they were successful. So that gives you confidence that you also will be successful, and at the same time, some of their advice is very valuable because they have been through half of their journey has been with you and half of the journey has been into the private practice, and they have been through that. So that, yeah, I think it's easy to find mentor. uh,
I agree. Yeah, my first year out of training, I did locum tenens. And I remember being very nervous to be a lot of the assignments I was the only doc, which straight out of training was scary.
right.
For the most part, it was good and learning to trust myself. Um, but there were some days when I was like, I'm not sure. And I would call my attendings up and say, what would you do? And then they would pretty much just tell me what I would do anyway. So I was like, okay, I think I'm good. But there
Yeah.
definitely was that curve for the first, maybe not year, maybe 3 to 6 months where I really felt like I just needed to learn to be confident without someone behind my back every second.
Yeah, I think same way. I think you would go through the same phase if you're doing private practice. You will be calling your mentors and texting them and every little thing. Some of questions might sound stupid now that I was asking at the time. But
Yeah, I remember some of the questions. I just wanted validation. I just wanted
y-
to know that what I was doing
yeah,
was
exactly.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. And since you mentioned locum tenens, I think that can be a bridge to the private practice. So, you get if you're fully employed, you can transition to locum tenens, which is not that big of a difference. And then in a few months, once you figure out how to work as an independent contractor, you can start slowly private practice on the side. I think that's another thing I would change if I had to. I wouldn't give up my job so fast, so easily. And I would have started private practice on the side. So at least I have some income coming.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think, one of the challenges my understanding in Charlotte is that those big hospital systems, their non-compete is just you can't go work for the other big hospitals. So that makes sense that your option is to start your own thing, which is kind of
Yeah.
great. Um, but a lot of places, it's you just can't work within 20, 30 miles of, of your prior practice, which
Yeah,
is very
fortunately,
difficult.
that was not the case. I was doing inpatient work, so the non-compete was only for the
Mm,
inpatient, fortunately.
that's good.
Uh,
So please read your non-competes.
yes.
Anyone watching who is signing a contract right now, please look at your non-competes. And if I cannot say it enough times, look at your non-competes because things happen. Um, well, cool. Anything you want to say to anyone watching who's maybe thinking about starting their own practice, too scared to start their own practice, or is just unhappy in the medical system to begin with?
Yeah, in general, I would recommend at least coming out of employment if you're thinking in that direction, if if you think you can take a little bit risk in life, then coming out of employment and starting, as you say, like locum tenens, and then something small on the side, and learn along the way. I guess you'll fail multiple times. You'll spend money in marketing and things that won't give you any returns, but eventually you'll figure it out. It's not that hard.
It's all about getting
It's not.
creative.
If you've been through residency, you can do this.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. I remember when my husband started his thing, he went around and we made these little we created these, little I really like plants. I love gardening and plants and everything green. So we made these little happy bamboos with his a sticker with his business card on it, and we took them around to all the different well, we he took them around to all the different primary
Uh-huh.
care practices in town and went to visit and meet people, and those were his referral sources. And it's fun. That's how you get to know the community, and it's so important to build that network, which you're not going to have in solo private practice, which you're probably very used to if you're used to a training
Yes.
program or a big hospital.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of driving,
Hmm.
a lot of driving to different uh, referring providers and primary care doctors and all that.
It's really fun. Yeah, before you're full with patients, your job is to market. That's your
Yes,
job. So,
exactly. Yeah.
tell us your website so that if anyone's curious about your practice, they can go check you out and maybe even give you a call if they're not sure that they want to start
Yeah.
their own thing.
So our website is celestebrainhealth.com. It's a general brain health practice. Uh, so we deal with simple, uh, common, I wouldn't say simple, but common neurological issues like chronic migraines and cognitive problems and dementia um, and concussion. We have a lot of patients with concussions, um, and so on. And you can see the list of services there. We also offer um MRI brain in Raleigh location, and we have what we call this. This is very unique. It's a video nystagmogram, and it records eye movement with high frequency camera, and any balance disorders would show up on this, like those micro nystagmus that you can't see at bedside would show up here. So we do the testing in both locations. Um,
That's amazing. In med school, I did residency with a little camera that measured the mice's
oh
nystagmus. It was very
yeah,
cute. You
yeah,
have a comment from Abdullah Saeed saying, "Best fortune for your private practice. May you have success."
yeah. Thank you, Abdullah.
Thank you. Okay, cool. So find them at celestebrainhealth.com. And if anyone is looking for a doctor to join their practice or you're curious what's out there, you're looking for a practice to join, please contact me. My website is www.happydayhealth.co, not .com. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're watching this or you just watched it, please drop a line in the comments. And I'd love to say hi. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks
thanks
for joining
everyone
us,
for
Dr.
watching.
Modi.
Yeah, thank you, Lara.